All right, we are now recording this matter. We're in day 3. The complainant's next witness is Ms. Makda Fessehaye. Go ahead, please, with your direct.
Sure. Can you give us your educational background, please?
In terms of the degrees or the universities I attended,
The degrees.
I have a Bachelor's of Science from Northwestern University, and I have a Juris Doctor from Marquette University Law School.
Okay. Have you ever been a lawyer at any time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You currently an attorney?
I am a licensed attorney, yes.
Okay. And your bar status is it active or something else?
It is active.
And it's been active all week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever been subpoenaed for this case? Okay. When was that
Relevance.
subpoenaed? When were you subpoenaed to appear?
I'm going to object to relevance.
I'm not going into this. She's here now. We're not wasting time on this. We are going to go ahead. I got her here, and now we're doing this hearing. You said you want to be done at 5. That's what we're doing. Get
I'm
done.
not in, there's no way I'm ending this at any, I'm not, absolutely not. There's no way. We'll go on until midnight then. Absolutely not. I'm not
We are not talking about this.
relinquishing her for a second.
No, we are not talking about the subpoena. We got this taken care of. She's here. Let's go.
We got to prove our damages, Judge.
And I'm not going to do that here. We're getting this done. Get this done. She appeared, and she appeared today, which was what she was supposed to do. She's here. Let's
Do you
get it
understand
done.
the difference between 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, and there was nearly no difference here for us in terms of money that I can see, and I'm not going to do it. Let's move. Get your questions asked.
All right. But that was my question to this witness, was does she know the difference between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock?
Again, we're not doing that. If you wanted to ask about the case here, fine, but we're not talking about alleged issues regarding the subpoena and failure to comply. We're not doing that.
Okay.
Just talk about the case, what you were going to talk about from the beginning when you were going to call her at 9. Let's go on.
Thank you. So, and you had a Juris Doctorate and were a licensed attorney while you were the administrator of the Department of Adult Institutions, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The entire time?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
You had that license the entire time you were the administrator, right?
That is correct.
How did you become the administrator?
I was appointed
By whom?
by Secretary Kevin Carr and the Governor Tony Evers administration.
Okay. What job had you had prior to becoming the administrator?
I was legal counsel for the Department of Corrections.
Okay. Did you have any background as a correctional officer at any time?
I did not.
Have you ever been a warden?
No, I have not.
Okay. So other than being an attorney for the Department of Corrections, do you have any experience in corrections prior to becoming the administrator for the Division of Adult Institutions?
I worked in the Human Resources Department
For how long?
for almost 2 years.
Okay. Okay. Now, upon your nomination to that position as administrator, did you receive any training?
In terms of what type of training?
How about just any terms, any training? Can you answer that question, please?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what training did you receive?
I participated in the Department of Corrections training.
Okay, and that's the same training that all DOC employees get or something else?
That is correct.
Okay. Did you get any specific training in how to be an administrator?
I don't believe that one exists.
Okay. Did you get any training in the disciplinary process?
Yes,
What training was that?
I received training on how to investigate employee issues and also how to issue discipline. And I also, in my role in human resources, also gave that training to correctional staff throughout the Department of Corrections.
Okay, so that's how you become familiar with the disciplinary process?
That is correct.
Okay. So who trained you in discipline?
I was trained by a number of people when I first started at the Department of Corrections. Kelly
Okay.
Brown, Tanya Hasselberg, and a number of others.
Okay, how about any training since you become the division administrator?
I'm going to object to relevance.
I said I will, but it's a short leash. Go ahead, Mr. Cross.
Okay, so I said, how about training since you've become division administrator?
I participated in supervisory trainings, which I also had previously been one to provide those trainings.
Okay, and as your role as the attorney or something else?
In my role as administrator, I participated in supervisory training. And my role as the employee relations specialist when I first started at the Department of Corrections, I would regularly provide supervisory training to members of the Department of Corrections.
Okay, I got it. So, are you aware of any escapes that happened at the Department of Corrections while you were the administrator?
Yes,
Okay, how about in a maximum security facility?
yes.
What escape happened?
Columbia Correctional Institution.
About what time was that?
It was mid-April of 2020.
When did you first learn of the escape?
The date of the escape, about 5 in the morning.
Okay, who contacted you and who informed you of the escape?
Stephanie Hovey, who was the Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Division of Adult Institutions.
Okay, do you know who Doug Percy is?
Yes, I do.
Who's Doug Percy?
At the time, he was the Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Division of Adult Institutions.
Okay, and was he the supervisor of over Columbia Correctional Facility?
The warden of Columbia Correctional Institution directly reported to Doug Percy.
All right, I appreciate that answer. And then you supervised Mr. Percy, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, who is I think it's Stephen Carr. I'm sorry, I don't know the secretary's first name, but you know the secretary, I assume?
Yes, Kevin Carr.
Oh, great. So, when did you first meet the secretary?
On my first day of employment, on I believe that was January 7th or 6th of 2019.
Okay, first day of employment as an administrator. Is that right?
Correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. And okay, so let's talk about were there any issues with lockdowns at Columbia at any time prior to the escape?
What do you mean by issues?
Fair enough. Were you aware of any lockdowns at Columbia prior to the escape, but during your term as administrator? Okay. When did those occur?
The first lockdown that I can recall happened early in my tenure as the administrator. I want to say I'm not exactly sure on the dates, but it happened January or February of 2019. Was
Did you
the first one
authorize
that
that?
I can recall.
Did you
I
authorize
did.
them?
Yes, in consultation with the secretary.
Okay. And but ultimately you signed the a document that effectuated that lockdown or something else?
I don't remember.
Okay. Is there I mean, how are lockdowns authorized, if you know?
I don't remember.
Okay. But you are clear that you're the one who authorized it.
I was clear it was the secretary and myself that authorized it.
Okay. So then you said there was another lockdown, or did I misunderstand that?
There were a number of lockdowns at Columbia Correctional Institution during my time as administrator.
Okay. What were the reasons for those lockdowns?
Uh, the warden had requested them due to safety concerns. And then we had a lockdown due to COVID-19.
Okay. And do you know Sue Novak?
I do.
How do you know Sue Novak?
She was employed by the Department of Corrections.
Okay. And are you aware if there was any investigation into Sue Novak at any time?
Yes.
Okay. And a disciplinary investigation I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you get that awareness?
In consultation with the Secretary of the Department of Corrections, we authorized a disciplinary investigation into Sue Novak.
Okay. And when you say in consultation, we authorized, what do you mean?
I did not have sole authority to authorize an investigation without the approval by Secretary Carr, at least at that level.
How do you know that?
My experience.
Okay. Does that mean experience as administrator, or I'm sorry, I'm not clear on what that means.
My experience in the role of administrator working for Secretary Carr.
Okay. So does that mean that somebody told you that you couldn't make that decision without Secretary Carr's approval or something else?
I don't know that anyone ever said that explicitly. I just know that that was the practice.
Okay. And I guess you're gonna have to help me clear up that distinction there, because when you say there's a practice, does that mean that you've seen other people do that or something else?
Putting a warden under investigation was something that required additional authorization by the leader of the Department of Corrections, given that it could have some high profile consequences. It was something that we needed to discuss, and it certainly was not a decision I would have been comfortable making on my own without the approval of Secretary Carr.
Great. So is it just because of for comfort level or for some other reason?
That was essentially the practice that we had. We didn't make decisions in silos. And my experience working for Secretary Carr is that we ran things like this by him to ensure that we had the backing of the administration.
Yeah, that's because he told you to, or for some other reason?
I don't know that he ever specifically told me to go to him for high profile investigations, but we had an understanding as colleagues and me as his subordinate that I would make sure to discuss with him any major decisions that would impact the Department of Corrections, being an investigation of a warden.
Great. And I mean, I think we've got that concept there. Okay. I think we understand that you felt like you had to go to him, and you also felt that that was the practice and procedure. And you've also said that he didn't tell you. So my question is did that come out of the air, or how did you come across this understanding?
What I just explained is the only thing I can provide you. It's not, I never got anything in writing, or at least not that I'm aware of. But that was essentially how it worked under the administration of Secretary Carr. We went to him on high profile major decisions.
Okay. Hi. I'm in hearing now. Excuse me. Okay. Excuse me, everybody. Okay, but again, and we're clear that you had you seen anybody perform the duties of administrator prior to being the administrator?
Absolutely.
Okay. And in the course of that experience, did you see people go to the secretary to make decisions for lockdowns or something else?
In my prior experience in human resources or in legal counsel, I was not aware of any decision making related to lockdowns. That was not within the purview of my uh, job responsibilities.
Okay, and so the previous administrator, do you know who he was?
Jim Schwackert.
Okay, and you were the attorney while he was the administrator, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, and do you and also worked under HR with him, or was that different?
Uh, in part, Kathy Just was also the administrator in my time in HR.
Great. So while you were attorney there and he was the division administrator, are you aware of any significant change in the policies or procedures at the Department of Corrections?
In terms of,
Well, we can start with disciplinary practice. How about that?
we were regularly updating our disciplinary practices from the time in which I was in HR from 2014 to about 2016. And then from 2016 on, because of various changes related to either court hearings or court decisions or decisions based off of shared services procedures, and working with the Department of Administration.
Okay. So then let's go on to how about work rules? Are you aware of any significant change in the work rules from the time that Mr. Schwacher was the administrator to the time that you were the administrator?
I don't recall if that's when he was the administrator, but I know in 2016, the Department of Corrections and many other state agencies underwent a major overhaul, if you will, of work rules and policies related to discipline as it related to a new human resources shared services project. So we had shared services throughout the state of Wisconsin for human resources specifically, and that required the overhaul and change to our practices and our policies related to discipline and work rules.
Okay, I got it. Okay. So, let's talk about the investigate. I guess let's be clear though. After the escape, it's my understanding that there were two separate investigations. There was sort of an after action security investigation, and then there was a series of disciplinary investigations. Do I understand that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Did you authorize the security investigation?
Yes.
Okay, and that was your sole decision or a group decision?
It was a collaborative decision.
Okay. And again with the secretary, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then how about the disciplinary investigations? How were those authorized?
From what I recall, those were also collaborative, but I believe I likely made some decisions related to some of our lower level employees.
Okay. Those would be lower level, would be below the rank of warden or something else?
I would say below the rank of any leaders in the organization, so correctional officers.
So we're gonna say blue shirts or what?
I don't recall exactly which levels. I know that I likely authorized disciplinary investigations for the employees. At what level it stopped or started, I don't recall, but definitely for correctional officers.
Okay, and the reason why it's important is because I'm trying to understand at what level you're comfortable making decisions on your own. So, are we talking about sergeants here?
Sergeants, captains, yes.
Okay, so would that be, as far as I understand, there's three waves of investigation. So does that sound like the first wave of investigations?
I'm sorry, can you clarify your question?
I absolutely can, and I think probably the best thing to do is to go to a document because just so we can be clear on that. So just give me 1 second, and we'll be right back. I can get that document pulled up here.
Are we doing Respondents Exhibit 27 again?
Yes.
All right.
No, we're doing the series of investigation letters.
Okay, that was one that we just marked today,
That was when
I
we just
believe.
marked it.
Okay, 1 second. Let me find that.
There, respondents exhibit. There we go.
I think it might be number 9, Judge.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. That is it. Respondent Exhibit 9, which has been admitted, so we don't have to worry about that.
So I think page 115 will be is probably a good one to start out at, Judge. And this is again Respondents Exhibit 9.
All right. All
Are you
right.
able to see a screen here?
I'm sharing the
Yes.
screen. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we've got Respondents Exhibit 9, Administrative Lead Letters for CCI staff. And you said you wanted page, it's the first page, of course, is 109 with the cover sheet, and then actually starts on 110. And you said 115?
115. Showing all the cards, Judge. Yeah, that's a good one. Though that'll be fine.
This one?
I think
You
so.
just-
I think it's
The next page or stay where
next
I am?
page, next page, next page. I know that one for sure.
Okay, so we're on page 114. Go ahead.
Okay. And actually one more page down. Because I think that'll be clear. Because it's
Okay, so this is
yes.
page
Okay.
115.
Yeah, 115. Okay. So do you see this document here?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I'm going to submit to you that this is a document that was dated April 16th, and it's sent to somebody who's a correctional officer at Columbia Correctional Institution, putting them on administrative leave. Would you agree to that?
Yes, that's what it looks like.
Okay. Judge, can you scroll down a little bit further? And I guess my question first, though, is this the document, is this the kind of investigations that you authorized on your own authority?
I would think so, yes.
Okay. And then, Judge, if you could just go a little bit lower. And do you see there, Ms. Fessahaye, where there's a signature there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's signed by Sue Novak, right?
That is correct.
Okay, but you would have been the one to authorize it, right?
In this particular case, yes.
Okay. Okay, and then do you believe that there was a number of DOC employees that were put out on administrative leave initially that at this time?
Yes.
Okay, and do you believe you authorized all of those on the same day?
I know that there were a number that we authorized on the same day, but I don't recall if they were all on the same day.
That's fair. That's not crucial, but I think I understand. I appreciate that. So, then, Judge, if we can go to, for example, the top document, the Sue Novak one.
All right, we're on page
Perfect.
110. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So you see this document here?
Yes.
Okay, and then at the bottom, is it signed by you?
Yes, that's my signature.
Okay, but this leave would have been made in consultation with the secretary, right?
Yes,
Okay. In fact, the secretary is the one who authorized this, right?
I think, as I said earlier, it was a collaborative decision.
Okay. What input did you add to this decision?
I don't recall the specifics, but I would say that given my expertise in human resources prior to this role, uh, it would have been based on the fact that we didn't want any appearance of or any interference into the integrity of an investigation. And so by putting Ms. Novak on administrative leave with pay, we were hoping to ensure that there would be integrity into the disciplinary investigation by putting her out on leave and no obstruction.
Okay. And when you were working in HR, were you working at an institution or in the central office?
Central office.
Okay. So do you have any experience at an institution itself?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Have you ever worked at an institution run by the Department of Corrections?
No.
Okay. So, okay. So there, then if we can back up now, my questions are what led to you and
Should
the
should I
secretary?
stop sharing?
Please, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So my question is what caused Sue Novak to be investigated?
As a result of the after action investigation, there were a number of issues that came up as it related to the safety and security of the institution. From what I recall, there were individuals that were being interviewed that had mentioned Sue Novak's part in the estate occurring. And in order for us to appropriately investigate that, we made a decision that it would have to be under disciplinary investigation and we would have to put her on administrative leave with pay.
Okay. And